Welcome everyone back to the Credit Masterclass. I am your host, Credit Coach Nicole Scott. In this video, we're going to be covering everything that you need to know about credit, how to repair your credit, how to build credit, how to structure your credit, so that way your 700 credit score will match your credit profile. That's one of the biggest mistakes people do, is they only pay attention to the credit score. And even with the 700 credit score, you can still be declined because you have not structured your credit profile enough and you have not met the data points that these banks and financial institutions are actually looking for. So this is going to be part 2 of the Credit Masterclass. We're going to be talking more about data points and what those data points need to look like. Now, a lot of people always talk about Credit Karma and they bash Credit Karma. And I'll tell you, Credit Karma is a great tool to use, but you just have to understand that the credit score that you see on there is not what the banks are looking at. Generally, the only places that really use a Vantage 3.0 in order to approve you are property management companies. So a lot of times when I'm helping people get into like apartments or rentals, they would get the same credit score that is seen on Credit Karma because the property management company is pulling a Vantage 3.0 credit score, which is a lot more affordable to pull than Fico scores. But banks and financial institutions, they're all going to be using a FICO score. So if you need to know what your FICO scores are, you can get the MyScore IQ report, which is in the link below, or you can get the MyFICO app. Both of those apps are great. The MyScore IQ is just like Identity IQ, so it's side by side. You can compare all the data, start using that to clean up your credit of all the negative information, personal information, remove your personal statements, all that good stuff. And then you need to understand all of the data points that we're looking for. So this is actually my credit profile. So if you are learning credit from somebody and you don't know what their personal credit score is, you need some receipts, okay? Because everyone out here is talking about credit these days. I mean, I'm hearing these young 20-year-old people talk about credit like, get out of here. You don't, like, what do you know? You're 23 years old. Like, I get it. You're just regurgitating the information that you learn from these mentorships, but you have no life experience. Honey, I have a ton of life experience with credit, and I've helped thousands of people with their credit and literally changed their lives. Okay. So this is what my credit score looks like. It's funny because my credit score on the FICO side is actually higher. It's in the 800s, but when it's calculated using a Vantage 3.0, it's only a 758. So that just goes to show you that the Vantage and FICO can really vary up to a 50-point difference. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. So it just depends. That's why it's so important for you to understand this credit score is not what it is. Okay. This Credit Karma is just really good to understand your data points. And these are the data points that we want to be focused on the most. Okay. 100% on-time payment history. That is so important. We have to make sure that we are paying all of our credit accounts that report to the credit bureaus on time. I do not recommend adding Experian Boost and all of these crappy credit builders because they really aren't a great trade line, and they're just you're just adding recycled crap to your credit profile. The only thing that I'm a huge fan of when it comes to adding the credit builders are like rent. I like Boom Pay because it reports your it reports your rental payments to all 3 credit bureaus, and you can actually backdate it 24 months. So you can get some good history from that. It just has to connect to your bank account. You have to provide Boom with the lease, and we'll go over a lot of these credit builders a little bit later on in the video. But back to, our credit data points. These are the 6 data points that you need to be focused on. And I'm going to be breaking down all of these different data points. So payment history, obviously 100%. Now, keep in mind, payment history is so important that if you pay rent and your rent does not report to your credit bureaus, pay your rent late before you get a late payment on your credit cards or credit accounts reported to your credit. You can always catch up with rental payments. But what you can't do is afford to get a late payment that is going to report to your credit for the next 7 years, okay? Property management companies are a lot more flexible when it comes to payments versus the credit companies. But even if you are dealing with a financial hardship, call the bank and see if they can defer a payment or two to the end of your loan term. That works for installment loans. You can also call the bank if you have a credit card and you're having a hard time paying it. See what they can do for you. Sometimes there are some options that they have available to help people that are dealing with a financial hardship. But the most important thing is making sure that you have auto pay on for all of the credit accounts that report to your credit, and you are making additional payments as needed. Okay, but keep that auto pay on so at least the minimum amount due is being paid on time every month, and your credit can properly grow and be established to be a strong credit profile. That's how you really get a strong credit profile, is that 24-month history of nothing but on-time payment. Now, you're not going to get a late payment until something is 30 days past the due date, but we never want to allow it to get that far, because if you are late, even 1 day late, you're going to have to pay a late fee, which those fees can get pretty hefty, and it's just not a good way to build a relationship with a bank. Okay, let's just be honest. You have to do better. So we have to budget accordingly. So that way, when that minimum payment hits, you have the money to pay it. You're not overspending. Okay, so payment history is number one. It is a top priority, and nobody can control that but you. Late payments are also the hardest thing to correct when it comes to credit repair. They are next to impossible nowadays if you are not dealing with some sort of life event, like a childbirth, medical illness, some sort of event that took place that would cause a financial hardship. So that is, obviously number one. It accounts for 35% of your credit score. So it's really important. Number two is going to be your credit utilization. Now, I always tell people, do not allow your credit utilization to go to 30%. 30% is way too high. And guess what? That's what everyone tells you. If you look online, if you read from the credit bureaus or the banks, they all say, oh, keep your credit cards below 30% utilization. Bullshit. Because guess what? I allowed my credit utilization to go to 27% a few years ago, and it dropped my credit score tremendously. Okay. It like over 50 points. It was crazy. I was like, oh my God, like that is real right there. Okay. So getting a late payment can drop your credit score up to 100 points. Allowing your credit card utilization to go above 30% or even above 20% can drop your credit score 40 to 100 points as well. Especially when it comes to these secured credit cards, do not use them. Okay. Just get them and allow them to build credit. You're still going to get an on-time payment even if you don't use them. So a lot of times, if it's a secured card that doesn't graduate, First Progress, Open Sky, all of these crappy secured cards, you don't even need to use them. Just put them in a drawer and let them sit and marinate and do their job. They're for decoration. They're not to be used. The only time that you want to use a secured credit card is with like Discover It or a bank that we know is going to graduate us, and we're only spending what we have that in cash. So we're treating our secured card like a debit card, because we know if we allow the credit utilization to report to the credit bureaus, we're in hot water. And later on in this video, I'm going to be breaking down how the statement dates work and how you can read your statement from the credit card companies to understand when your bill due date is and when your statement date is, because they're going to report your account data to the credit bureaus as of your statement date, which is the last day of your billing cycle. It is a different day than your due date. Okay. Be mindful. Put these dates in your calendar. Get a tracking log. All this stuff is in the course. And if you do need a coaching call, I have a mini link below, and you can book a quick coaching call. We can talk about, how I can help you and reach your goals, either with personal credit or business credit, or even starting a credit repair business. So again, the goal is to keep the credit usage under 15%. And the credit usage is only calculated with revolving lines of credit, which are credit cards and lines of credit. Okay. If you have a business credit card that reports to your personal credit, like Capital One, Sparks card, if you use it, it is going to affect your personal credit utilization, which could drop your credit score. So that's why I don't really recommend people getting that card, because you can't really use it unless you plan to pay it back almost immediately, because it is going to affect your credit utilization on the personal side. The business side isn't as much affected, but again, you want to be able to balance everything out. And really, we're just focused on the personal credit right now. I have other masterclass that talk about business credit. I have an entire business credit playlist that you can watch, because there's a ton of great information about business credit in those. So moving on from credit usage, which again, that is 30% of your credit score. So between the payment history and the credit utilization, we're at 65% of our credit score. That's half of the battle right there. And guess what? Nobody can control that but you. You are the one that is in control of making payments on time, managing your finances, okay? And making sure that your credit card utilization, you're not overspending, you're paying more, okay? You're using it like a debit card. Every time you spend, you pay. So you can make additional payments inside of the app and still keep your auto pay on, which is what I recommend, okay? So those are the top two right there, the two most important. Number 3 is going to be the derogatory marks. Now, oftentimes, if you look at Credit Karma, you might see a 0, but you actually need to view your credit report, because the derogatory marks are only picked up if you have collection accounts or if you have bankruptcy. The derogatory accounts that are not picked up are charge-offs from original creditors. So if you have a bunch of charge-offs, meaning you have a bunch of balances with old credit cards that are still with the original creditor that are showing as a derogatory account on your credit report, it's not going to show under this number. So that's why it's so important for you to look at your entire credit report. Now, Credit Karma is going to have Equifax and TransUnion. MyScore IQ is going to have all 3 right next to each other. So we're looking for the word derogatory. We're looking for the word charge-off, collection. Okay, we're looking for the word late payment. We want to dispute all of these negative things that are affecting us, or you want to clear them up. And sometimes part of the credit repair process is you settling out some of your old debts. I mean, it depends on how fast you need to move. If you need to move really quickly because you need to just get these in the past, then you might need to settle some of your old debts, especially if you have already disputed them in the past and they are still with the original creditor and they have verified them. Now, a lot of times people aren't going to get sued because it's past the statute of limitations. And what that means is basically every state has a different statute of limitations. I'm in California, so the statute of limitations here is 4 years. That means after 4 years, a creditor is not able to sue you for the alleged debt. It has to be 4 years past the date of first delinquency. Okay. Now, once that passes, we don't really have to worry about it. I mean, the older accounts are, the less that they are affecting you. Let's just be honest. Okay. But sometimes it's better just to settle up some of these old accounts so that way you can move forward, especially if you have issues with check systems report. Now, check systems is a whole nother ball game, but we're going to need to clear up our check systems report if you have issues opening up bank accounts. And oftentimes what that means is we just have to go to checksystems.com, request our report, read it. If you need help, book a call and clear up any owed balances. And sometimes I've seen balances on people's check systems reports for as low as $35. Like $35 is holding you back. So now you didn't really know how to resolve it. You got an account with Chime, which has no real benefit because Chime will give a bank account to anybody. Okay. We want to build relationships with credit unions, community banks, and banks that have credit products that we want. Credit unions are my favorite because they're relationship based, they give out higher limits, and they have every credit product that we would ever need, from auto loans, mortgages, whatever, credit cards, business side, personal side. It's just great for both. Okay. So you want to be free of any derogatory marks. Again, this number is not always accurate. So look at your entire report. You can see that this number is only going to pick up the number of collection accounts that you have listed, or if you have a bankruptcy. And you can even still dispute a bankruptcy, because the bottom line is, even if you know that it belongs to you, a lot of times you can find inaccuracies with the way that the data is reporting to the credit bureaus. Dispute it based on the fact that, hey, this data is inaccurate. This data is 100% not correct, and I demand that you delete it if you are not going to report 100% accurate and true information about me. That's our right as a consumer, is to have the reported data on our credit reports be 100% accurate, okay? If it is not accurate, if there is some missing information, if the information is wrong, we can ask them to delete it. Now, sometimes they will update the information. Obviously, we don't want that. We want them to delete it. But that's why I always tell them why I'm disputing something, and I give them a reason on what I want them to do. And I give them an instruction on what I want them to do. I am very clear. So the reason would be, this data is inaccurate. It can be that simple. And then the instruction for them would be to please delete it immediately, or I demand you delete this inaccurate information before I proceed with litigation. Okay, it could be that simple. And again, use AI. I talked about ChatGPT in part 1 of the masterclass, and how easy it is and how it has been a game changer for me. I also use software, but I will generate my letters inside of ChatGPT using, clips from our, dispute cheat sheet, from our letters, letter library, and also from our law. I have a cheat sheet for all of the consumer law that is most applicable when it comes to credit repair. And you can put little pieces of, hey, this is grounds for deletion based on this law. And you can use the law to get items deleted. It's factual disputing, right? You can also send proof of the information, send a snippet of your credit report, and highlight the errors or inconsistencies. Circle them, write a note on them, okay? Send proof. Whatever proof you have, send it, make a copy for yourself. I talked about this in part 1, but just to reiterate how important it is to clear up all of this old, inaccurate, maybe derogatory information. Even if the accounts do belong to you, we need to get our old crap cleaned up, cleared up. And if you don't know how to do so, book a call. I help you. And I also provide coaching. So in our coaching program, we provide free credit repair, because the credit repair is easy, right? The coaching and the education and understanding what is going to be the best plan of action for you, that's the hard part, because there's so many different avenues that you can go down. And a lot of people that you talk to about credit, that you have a consultation with, guess what? They're going to tell you whatever you want to hear, because at the end of the day, you are just a sale to them. Okay. You're going to pay for a consultation with me. Why? Because I'm not going to try to sell you nothing. I'm going to keep it real with you. If I can't help you, I'm going to straight up tell you what you need to do. If I can help you, then I will be glad to work with people who are ready, willing, and able to invest in themselves and to take the time to learn before they earn. Okay, that is super important. You guys have to be educated so that way you can be successful long term and understand that credit is not a fast process. Okay, we live in a very microwavable world these days where everything is very fast paced. TikTok, fast paced, 30-second videos. Everyone wants all the information super quick, super fast. Right? Stop. Slow down. Go at your own pace. Okay. Go at your own pace, because guess what? Everyone that started a rental car business years ago that moved too quickly and bought too many cars, or bought the wrong cars, or just didn't do their research properly. They were just listening to their coach have them get all of these rental cars, and now they got all sorts of hot water going on. I talked to so many people that have started their Turo business the wrong way. They bought the wrong type of car for their territory. they just went about it all wrong. They got the wrong color. Like, it's just, there's so many different aspects, because I also do Turo and I have a rental car business, and I teach people in my coaching courses and classes about the Turo business. And we do the research for your territory to see what type of vehicles are going to be best fit for you. Okay. Don't just listen to somebody, just one person. For hell, don't even just listen to me. Do your own research. Okay. Take the information that I give you and do your due diligence. Okay. Because I would never want to steer you wrong, but I can't say the same about other people. Okay. There's a lot of scam artists out there. There's a lot of people that make it sound really good. And guess what? If something sounds too good to be true, red flag, okay? Red flag, it is. It is, straight up. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Now, credit is game changer. Credit is a game changer. It is life changing, but it does not happen as quick as most people want it to. Okay. For me, it was like a year or 2 year process. Okay. I got to a 700 in about a year, but then I was still having issues getting approved because I didn't understand how to properly build and structure my credit report. So I got a bunch of crappy credit builder accounts that are still open to this day, because once you open them, you just got to keep them open, right? And they got your money. They never unsecured. They're just crappy. We're not educated. We don't know any better. So they're easy to get. Hell, I'll get it, right? Build my credit up. But what they're not telling you is that they're just getting a commission from sending you a link to sign up for that crappy card. Okay. I want to send you to credit unions who can give you better credit products in the future. And if you get a secured loan, the money is still available to you in most cases, except for DCU, of course. And some other banks might do that as well. Every bank is different. But I know, like with Navy Federal, the money is still in your account, so it's no big deal. Okay, back to the subject at hand. You guys know I get a little off track sometimes, but I'm so passionate about this. I want you guys to just soak up all of this information. And I know it's long and I know it's boring for the most part, but believe me when I tell you guys, this is the information that you need to know, okay? Because you can apply it to your life, your business, and elevate your life and your business with your credit. You can start now. Start now, because it's just getting harder. Okay. FICO 10 is out. Not a lot of banks are using it, but FICO 10 looks at the last 48 months of credit history versus most FICO scores right now are just looking at the past 24 months. That's why I say it's so important to have that 24-month streak of on-time payments so you can show consistency. That's 2 years. Okay. So we got to be good for 2 years. Understand the concept behind credit. If you guys haven't watched the Credit Concept podcast, it's a great podcast to listen to. I host the podcast and I talk a lot about personal credit, business credit, and things like that. So if you are into credit and you would like to be a guest on my podcast, let me know. If you have any questions or any additional information that you would need me to do a video on, let me know as well, because I want to help. Okay. And again, all of the links for everything that I talk about are in the description. We do get a small commission fee for some of our partner companies, like with all the credit reports and stuff like that. So if you are getting your credit reports, we just ask that you use our link at no additional fee to you. It helps support our channel. We get a small, very small commission, which helps us continue to make videos, because as you guys know, putting all this stuff together is very time consuming. It takes me a lot of time to put everything together for you guys and then edit everything and put it out there so no one makes fun of me for my crappy videos. I mean, I'm on a serious note, guys. I really appreciate the love. Like, my channel has been around now. I think I'll have my 3-year anniversary in January, and I haven't been on like super consistent like I am now, because I'm really trying to grow my channel and give you guys the information. But when I first started my YouTube channel, like nobody watched my videos. I had no subscribers. Like it was horrible. So that just goes to show, like now I have 10,000 subscribers. I've never run ads on YouTube. It's all organic. So that just goes to show it takes time to build up your business. It takes time to build up your credit. anything in this world that's really worth something is going to take time to build up, okay? But you got to set that foundation. And really the foundation is your personal credit. Next up is credit age. The goal is to get you to 5 years. But in the beginning, 2 years is really what we want. We want that 2-year history of nothing but on-time payments, okay? And the more new accounts that you add to your credit profile, that's going to bring down your average age. So one thing that you can do if you are building is to add authorized user trade lines that have, a nice age to them, because you're going to inherit some age to your credit profile. And that's exactly what I did. Was I had to add trade lines to my credit profile over a couple year span. So I added some and then did my little funding sequence and then waited. And then right before I did my next funding sequence and was applying for cards to, build my credit with and stuff, I would add a couple more trade lines. So I invested in my credit, and that's how I was able to get high limit credit cards, keep my credit score high, because I was always getting new credit. Like every 3 to 6 months, I was getting a couple new credit cards and a couple new accounts that I would just add to help strengthen my credit profile. So your credit age is 15% of your credit score. 15% is a lot, okay? So that's why, the goal is to get you to at least that 2-year mark where you have, nothing but 2 years of primary trade lines reporting an on-time payment. And of course, you can add authorized user. It's great if you have parents, grandparents, or any family members, brothers, sisters that have credit cards that are in good standing, have no late payments, have a very low credit utilization. They can add you as an authorized user, and then you can inherit their history, and vice versa. You can be doing this with your credit cards. But the rules when it comes to trade lines is you have to make sure they have 100% on-time payment history, and the credit usage is below 15% of the available credit limit. For example, if the credit limit is $1,000, we really don't want to be added to a card that has more than like $150 balance, because that's 15%, okay? And it's very easy for people to overspend. So that's why I say, if you are going to be buying a trade line, just buy it from someone that you can trust, unless you can really trust your family not to overspend, because you're going to inherit any debt that comes along with that card as long as you're an authorized user on it. Now, once they remove you from an authorized user, we can get that account removed from your credit profile so it's no longer affecting you and affecting your credit utilization. But the goal is to, get it from somebody that is serious about their credit. So all of the trade lines that we offer, all of our clients guarantee 100% on-time payment history, guarantee usage under 15% of the credit limit. And we have a ton of trade lines, over 100 different trade lines with different banks, high limit, high history. Well, I mean, we got some great trade lines, I just did a trade line order for one of my clients yesterday. Shout out to you, Mr. Joel, because he got some badass trade lines. Okay. High limits. We added over 50K of credit to his credit profile, and we got some nice age. We added like 10 years of age, over 10 years actually, to the profile. So it's going to be looking nice, and then he'll be ready for funding once the trade lines post. So he's going to be applying for some funding and doing that build phase, and then he'll take a break and then build again. So it's all about, planning it out and then executing. Okay. Next is your total amount of accounts. Now, obviously 40 is a lot. Okay. It's a lot, but you really only need between 10 and 20 accounts to optimize your credit profile. Now, you need a nice mixture of accounts. So you can't just have a bunch of credit cards. You need to have installment loans and revolving lines of credit. So those are, both different types of credit trade lines. Okay. And the revolving are the credit cards and lines of credit. Installment, student loans, personal loans, mortgage, auto loan, things like that. You don't want to overextend yourself on either one of those. But like I said in part 1, you can get 2 to 4 installment loans, okay? Preferably the secured ones. That way we can raise the bar, build that relationship with the bank. We can also use recycled funds from, say, personal loans that we might get. You could take out a big personal loan and use that to gain 2 other trade lines by doing secured loans. So now you have 3 high limit trade lines and you could pay them off pretty quickly within like a 6 to a 12-month period, just to show, hey, I've had, you basically recycled the same money, but got 3 primary trade lines on your credit report because you took out a personal loan for $25K. You used that $25K and did a pledge loan with Navy Federal. You took that same money and you went over to, say, PenFed, and you did another pledge loan with PenFed. Now you got 3 primary trade lines and you can just use that money to pay it all back and use it for decoration. Okay, that's what it's all about, decorating your credit report so you look good on paper. Now, 40 accounts is excessive, in my opinion, but of course I like to kind of try things out. I like to risk it just a little bit. And that's how I was able to really gain a really solid, strong credit profile, because I have 40 accounts and I don't have any late payments. So obviously I'm a very strong credit candidate and I don't show any signs of risk. So I am a great candidate in the eyes of the banks. Okay. Also, with the number of accounts, you don't want to overdo it. Okay. You don't want to get too many credit cards. I would not recommend getting more than, say, probably 15 credit cards on the personal side. 20 is pushing it. But if you do have 20 accounts, I wouldn't get more than 10 to 15 personal credit cards, especially if you don't know how to manage them properly. If you're not good with money, not good with credit cards, I would not get more than 5 or 6 credit cards. Okay. Just keep it simple. But if you can be trusted, you're not tempted, you have good self-discipline, you're not going to overspend, you're not going to abuse, hell, get the 10 to 15 credit cards. Okay. So your credit mix, AKA the total number of accounts that you have, accounts for 10% of your overall credit profile. So it is important. And again, these are all of the data points that you want to be meeting in order for you to have a strong credit profile to match that strong credit score. Okay. Because oftentimes when I see someone that has a 720 credit score, their credit profile does not match it. Okay. It's very weak. It's very thin. They just have a bunch of credit builder accounts that are just like not real banks. And that's not how you want to do it. Okay. They're great for, initially building, but you don't need to add too many. And I see people getting like self and credit strong and then getting a late payment. Like, oh my God, that is the worst thing that you can do. When you close those accounts, make sure everything is closed out properly so you don't get a late payment. Because I have so many clients that will close their account with self or credit strong and then F around and not close it out properly. Something happens to where they get a late payment. So avoid that. And then last but not least, you can see I have 7 inquiries. Now the goal is to have less than 4 inquiries, but in the last 2 years, I have applied for quite a few things, especially using my TransUnion. This is my TransUnion credit profile. So I have 7 hard inquiries, but I'm not worried about that because all of those 7 inquiries are related to accounts that I actually have opened. But it would be a different story if I had 7 inquiries from accounts that I don't even have on my credit profile, because obviously, it didn't work out. Maybe they didn't decline me, so it doesn't look good. So if you have inquiries that are not attached to an open account on your credit report, I would dispute them and have them removed from your credit profile. And if you're not sure how to do that, you can call the credit bureaus, do it right over the phone. Here's the script. Hey, is this the fraud department? No? Okay, I need to speak with the fraud department. They transfer you. Is this the fraud department? Always verify you are in the fraud department. Yes? Okay, great. I noticed that I have a few inquiries that were unauthorized that are listed on my credit profile. I'm going to give you the name and the date of the inquiries. You need to have the name and the date of the inquiry ready to give the rep over the phone. Do not dispute more than 2, maybe 3 inquiries during a call. You can make several calls over a few days, but You want to dispute 2 to 3 on each phone call and let them know the inquiry name and the inquiry date. These inquiries are unauthorized, and I'm asking for you to delete them from my credit profile. It is that simple. You don't need to over-explain yourself. Just keep it simple. There might be long pauses where no one's speaking. That's fine. Don't feel like you have to explain yourself, because oftentimes when people get nervous, they just talk too much. Okay? I have inquiries that are unauthorized on my credit profile, and I demand that you delete them immediately. I have been instructed by the banking financial institution to contact you and dispute them. They have no record on file. I have already contacted the creditor. I am now contacting you. My next step is to contact my lawyer. I demand that you delete these inquiries from my credit profile. They are unauthorized. Those should come off pretty easily, especially with Experian. They're usually the easiest. Equifax and TransUnion, hit or miss. You might have to call back. You might, if the rep is not being friendly over the phone, hang up, call back, talk to somebody else. Hang up, call back, talk to somebody else. Try a different day, try a different time, because obviously you're not getting through to them. Don't take no for an answer. If you've already called like 3 to 5 times, send a letter. Okay, send a dispute letter in, have ChatGPT draft up a letter, and then just list the name and the dates of the inquiries that you do not have accounts with. Okay, I do not recommend disputing inquiries that you have credit cards with or that you have accounts with, because it's just not worth it. I've seen people where we've disputed inquiries and they've gotten their accounts closed. I've also seen where we've disputed late payments on open accounts and credit cards, and guess what? The company closed the credit card. So be very careful not to dispute accounts that are open and in good standing with the credit bureau. Go to the bank and ask them for a goodwill adjustment before you go to the credit bureaus. So that's really, really important. That's happened to a lot of my clients, unfortunately, where we've disputed late payments with the bank, and then we disputed the late payments with the credit bureaus because the banks weren't doing anything about it. And this was some years ago, before I really had a chance to understand how it could affect someone. But it did. And the bank actually closed my client's account. It was a credit card that they had, and they closed it because they said that we disputed it. We didn't dispute the account. We were disputing the late payment, but oftentimes they don't care. If you dispute an account, they will close it and not even ask a second question about it. They could care less, to be honest. So be really careful with that. Again, if you need help, book a call. But inquiries, the goal is to have less than 4, no more than, say, 7 or so. And I know there's a lot of people out there that say inquiries don't matter. And some banks are more sensitive to inquiries than others. So right now, I know that I can't really go to any bank that would be inquiry sensitive that pulls from TransUnion. I need to wait a while. But a lot of these inquiries are getting ready to come off, because inquiries will only stay on your credit profile for up to 25 months. It's 2 years, but it takes about 30 days for it to fall off organically, unless you call and dispute it, of course, and you can get inquiries off a little bit earlier. So it's really up to you. Again, if you have questions, book a call, because I don't want you guys pulling the trigger on something too quickly and then making a mistake, or not, missing a step, basically, not having all of the information. So that's why I tell you guys, watch the entire Credit Masterclass in full, all of the different episodes, and then make an action plan. You can always rewatch the videos, but watch everything first and then write down what it is that you need to do and figure out, hey, okay, did that, mark that off my list, did that, mark that off my list. It's so rewarding marking things off your to-do list. I swear, I love it. Okay, let's move on, guys. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comments below. But, a lot of us grew up understanding that credit was bad. Credit cards were bad. Now, it's only dangerous when you're not educated about credit. Okay, credit can be very, very dangerous. There is a very fine line that we have to walk in order to have good credit, to manage our credit. And it's impossible to do that if you are not educated, or if you are not open to becoming educated. You don't need to know everything. You just need to understand the concept and how to better manage your finances. A lot of people get themselves in hot water because they overspend on their credit cards. And it's so easy to do, especially if you are a business owner and, you run ads or, you're just having a lot of expenses this month. It's very easy to do, but sometimes we just have to buckle down and, really watch our spending, put together a budget plan and not go over that budget. Hey, here is my co-host, Bella. What do you want to say to everybody?
Hi, everyone.
This is Little Miss Sassy Pants.
Today I'm in my mom's office and like our video, please.
And share.
And share.
Yep.
Be nice and share is carried and like our video. And subscribe. Subscribe right now. And like our video.
As I previously mentioned, this is going to be part 2 of the Credit Masterclass. So if you haven't watched part 1 yet, make sure to go to the link in the description and watch part 1 of the Credit Masterclass. This slideshow presentation has over 200 slides. All of the slideshows are going to be inside of the course. If you want to purchase the credit course, the link is in the description. Make your next move your best move. Let's get into it. And of course, if you haven't by now, make sure that you've liked and subscribed to the channel. Give me a huge thumbs up. Leave me a comment below because guess what? Your engagement with the video helps my video and my channel reach a wider audience because as we all know, a lot of these people on YouTube are feeding you a bunch of BS, okay? People don't always want to hear the real. It's hard to accept it. It makes perfect sense why someone would have a bad relationship with credit. And unfortunately, I've helped a lot of people get their credit together, get credit cards, and then they F it up. Okay. And that is so disheartening and disappointing for me because I work so hard with someone to get their credit right because credit repair is not easy. Okay. It is not easy. It is not. Okay. But it is rewarding when you're able to help someone change their life. But it's very disheartening and disappointing when someone F's all that up. Okay. Over what? Over a $10,000 credit card? It's not worth it. Okay. You have to pay all of this back. And it really just boils down to people not being educated about credit. And they get so excited like, oh, they think they have an extra $10,000 in their pocket. No, we need to treat our credit cards like a debit card and understand they are to help strengthen our credit profile so we can qualify to buy homes, to buy better cars with lower interest rate, to buy money-making assets, invest in businesses, do the right thing with credit. Credit is not meant for you to vacation with. It's not meant for you to buy additional supplies, clothes, shoes, purses, designer, whatever your niche is, it's not worth it. Okay, don't F it up over something so small when our goal is to get property and money-making assets, additional streams of income. We need to leverage our credit so we can build wealth. And that's what it boils down to, guys. We have to educate ourselves so that way we can educate our children, our family, and whoever else comes in contact with us. Because if you knew better, you would do better. Most people grew up without even being educated about credit. It's like literally throwing shit against the wall and seeing if it will stick. Nobody educated us about credit. It was such a mystery to us. Growing up, I literally knew nothing about credit. And it wasn't until my 30s that I started educating myself because I told myself, I can't rely on some company named Lexington Law to fix my problems for me. Nothing was happening. No results. Okay. So you have to become educated. Even if you do pay for credit repair, you need to be a part of the process to understand what's going on, what they're doing, what's happening. Okay. And what you need to be doing on your end to build up your credit profile. It's important to operate each day with this in mind. You always want to be closing the gap. Okay. Always be doing something to get to the next level, marking something off of our to-do list. I like to tell people, take action daily, write everything out that we need to do. And sometimes one item would require several different steps. So we need to understand that and write those steps down, even if they're simple. But it's not hard for you to get educated, especially when I put all of this information out. You just need to take the time to educate yourself when you're driving, when you're multitasking. Put your headphones in, put this on Bluetooth, listen to this education, because you need to learn before you earn. And it's hard to find someone that's going to give you the real deal information without some type of attached, hey, but you got to buy this or you got to buy that. Yeah, everything is inside of my credit course, but I'm giving you all the information right here. I would appreciate you guys if you bought the course, because it helps support our channel, which helps me create more videos for you guys to learn. But in hindsight, I just want you to take the time to watch, listen, and learn. You can listen and replay while multitasking. This is great for people that drive trucks, drive for a living, because all that you have to do is listen. You don't even need to watch the videos. I explain everything to you. Sometimes you need to rewatch them, and that's fine. I had to do that several times when I was learning. I would be sitting at my desk at my 9 to 5, had my earphones in, listening to, people on YouTube. I remember Mike from the Credit Game. He was a big, scammer, but he was real popular. And while he did get in trouble for scamming, he did give out some good information here and there. And, but he was just too salesy for me, and their course was like, oh my God, so expensive. My course is like nowhere near that. It's literally cheap as heck, but you guys need to take it serious. So you have to pay for it. But I'm telling you right now, my course is like, literally, I'm giving it away. That's how cheap it is. It's not even, it's like literally less than $100 right now. So, and that's the sale price right now. Okay. Make sure you're taking advantage of the sale price right now, because normally I do sell my course for $1,000, but I want you guys to learn. I want you guys to go through this information. There's all my ebooks, everything that I have that's credit related all goes into the credit course. I don't create new courses. I continue to add to the course. So all of this information is in there, and we're constantly adding new information in, and then you can purchase coaching if you need additional support. But everything that you need is inside of the course. It's super important for you guys to seek information, to learn. Of course, don't just take my word for it. Do your own due diligence, but you need to understand the concept before you take action. That's why I ask you guys to watch the entire video so you can make sure that you're making the right decision, because a lot of people will comment and say things in my video and like, oh, you did not watch the entire video because I explained that or I mentioned that. So please listen, watch everything, and make sure that you've subscribed so you can watch the entire playlist. I have the credit playlist, the credit repair playlist, and the business credit playlist, and the Credit Concept podcast playlist. So make sure to subscribe and start watching all of them. Now, before fixing your credit, it's very important for you to understand you need to erase everything that you thought you knew about credit. You need to come in with a fresh mindset, okay? Everything that someone has told you before, erase that. It's important that you change your mindset, you change your beliefs, and you start developing, this is what I need to know, okay? Because if I knew better, I could do better. Say it with me one more time. If I knew better, I could do better. Let's do better. It's about to be 2024, guys. There is no reason to be out here looking crazy on paper with your credit reports. We have to do better. Now, I've talked about this a lot in the past as well. Credit is not a get-rich scheme. It's not something that's fast-paced because, again, you need that 24-month history to show that you're credible and that you can pay your bills on time. But credit can either make you or it can break you. There is a very fine line that we have to walk, and it's like a loaded weapon, okay? You need to handle with care and make sure that you are being safe and managing it properly. You just have to become educated. It's just like using, some sort of weapon. You would need to take classes in order to learn how to properly use that weapon. You don't want to hurt yourself. You want to help yourself, okay? It's just like a weapon. You can either save your life with it or you can crash, and depending on how you decide to use it, it might be too much to recover from. And that's why a lot of people end up in bankruptcy. And I would hate to see anyone that follows me end up in bankruptcy because, bankruptcy is not the worst thing, but it can stay on your credit report for, 7 to 11 years. And it's just not something that, we want to have to go through. It's a challenge, but sometimes it's necessary. But it is very costly in the end. Credit is just like a firearm. It does require proper training and the right mindset to handle it correctly. And that's why I put a high level of responsibility into how I teach this. And that's why I expect you guys to watch the entire video before you take action. If you can't manage a $25,000 credit card or loan, what makes you think a bank would feel comfortable lending you $250,000? You need to have comparable credit on your credit profile to show that you are a credible candidate. If you have a $25,000 credit card and it is maxed out and you have late payments, that is not a good look, okay? We really need to ensure that you are not overspending, okay? Because the first thing that people do with a $25,000 credit card, they feel like they have to go use it, okay? No, you do not have to use it. If there is some sort of welcome bonus where you're going to get rewarded, sure, use it, but use it like a debit card, okay? If you don't trust yourself, go slow, okay? Don't try to just start spending. No, spend, pay. Spend, pay it to a zero. Spend, pay it to zero. Okay? Very important, guys. Now, if you are a small business, I would recommend that you start with cash. You're going to need some sort of income, a job, some way to fund your business. You should not be funding your business with credit unless you have a way to pay it back. So if you are a startup business, you need to start paying it with your own cash. If you don't have your own cash, you're going to have to go a little bit slower, okay? Go at your own pace. Again, go at your own pace because this is not a race. It is a marathon. This thing takes time and you need to have a job or a way to pay for this if you are going to be getting credit, okay? Start your business, start getting some cash flow, and then you can introduce credit because you're going to need a way to pay all of this credit back or else you're going to get yourself into some hot water. There is nothing fast about credit. If you want to have good credit and you want to keep it, you want to make sure that you understand the concept behind credit. You need to build the responsibility, consistency, determination, and patience that it takes to really build up a strong credit profile. That's what it takes. This is not a fast process. Credit has been around for hundreds of years and it's not going to be going away anytime soon. Information and data is always changing. Things are always, updating, but one thing that will never change is how credit works. Obtaining credit, paying it back, and you need to pay it on time. You don't want to over leverage credit and not have a way to pay it back. The moral of the story is you can't get something for nothing, right? Let's just be honest. You're going to need to invest either time or money, and sometimes it's time and money in order for you to get a very clear understanding and set yourself up for success. Like I said, take your time. This should be about a year process of you learning, taking action, learning, taking action. And a lot of times you are going to need coaches and mentorships and guidance along the way. And it's okay to have a mentorship and to have a coach that works with you one-on-one. So that way you know which path you should be taking because there's always going to be all of these different roads and they all end to the same goal, but which road is going to be most efficient for you. Everything has a price. You just need to pay to get it, right? And if it takes time and money to invest in your credit, it's well worth it because again, credit can determine what type of car you drive, what your car payment is, if your car payment is going to be affordable or not. It's going to determine some jobs. A lot of jobs these days are doing credit report pulls in order to qualify you for the position. And I would hate for you guys to be declined a job opportunity because of your credit report. Let's not forget to mention credit is super important when it comes to where you live. If you want to live in a nice area, in a nice home, you're going to need to have a credit profile that matches that, okay? Especially if you're looking to buy a home, you want to make sure that you have at least a 700 credit score before you apply. Many home programs have a 680 credit score requirement. Some are lower than that, just depends on the area. But would you really want to get approved for a home at a 580 credit score or a 620 credit score? Hell no. Your interest rate is going to be out of this world. And that's why it always drives me crazy when I see these videos about these lenders that say, oh my God, I got a single mom with a 580 credit score approved for a home. BS. That lady is paying so much money for that house. It's almost unaffordable for her. At this point, it would be cheaper for her to rent versus to get approved for a home with a 580 credit score because her interest rate is going to be so high. It's going to be like a never ending cycle until she's able to refinance it. So that's why I always say, take your time, get your credit score right. So that way you can get an affordable payment that you will be able to maintain over time. Because when you jump into something, usually it's never a good turnout. Again, guys, if you knew better, you would do better. So make sure that you have liked, subscribed to the channel, and share these videos with your friends via text message, social media. This information needs to get out so that way people can get educated. Because again, don't feel bad because we all were not educated. This is not a part of the education system. I don't know why, but it's not. Even though at 18, people are expected to get out, get a job, get a car, get an apartment. Guess what? You can't do any of those things these days without a good credit score. Credit can change your life. It definitely has changed my life for the better, and I've helped thousands of other people change their life for the better as well. Generally, credit is something that is your foundation, okay? Unless you just have mounds and mounds of cash, which, eventually cash is going to run out. That's why you always want to leverage credit. The United States is built upon credit. It's super important that you understand the credit repair process because you need to be a part of the credit repair process. If you are working with someone right now and they are repairing your credit and you have not seen much movement and it's been 3 months, 6 months, whatever the case may be, and they have not advised you on what type of accounts that you should be getting in order to build up your credit, red flag. I need to get a red flag. Like I need to get something to wave for all these red flags that I need to be flying because there are some just crazy situations out there. Believe me when I tell you that. But if you are dealing with anyone who is serious about credit, it's not just about credit repair. You also need to be building credit while you're repairing credit. I know a lot of people that repair credit say, don't get any inquiries. Yeah, don't just be blind applying for things. That's what we don't want, right? There is a difference between making a plan and executing it versus just going out and applying for things willy-nilly. Like, oh, I'm at Old Navy. Maybe I'll just apply because they give me a 10% discount. No, we don't want any of that. I'm going to give you accounts and banks and credit cards that you need to go and apply with. Are you going to get approved for all of them? Probably not, right? But we're going to try to go and do our build, break, build process where we're building, we're taking a break, and then we're building, okay? And I told you during the first build phase, we want to try to get like 3-4 credit cards, 2 to 4 installment loans, and then we'll take a break. But we definitely need to be acquiring those primary accounts so that way we can start building up that payment history, even if they are a secured loan or a secured credit card. As long as they're with credit unions, we are good, okay? So why repair takes time, and sometimes 6 to 12 months or more. Sometimes you'll even need a 2-year history to free up of any F-ups, okay? And that's what banks look for, is that 2-year history. With rebuilder accounts open, you can actually be building while working on that at the same time. And oftentimes, it's not going to be affecting the credit repair process. One thing that you don't want is you don't want to be unprepared for things. If you are going through credit repair, you cannot be applying for other things. If you are going through credit repair, you cannot be applying for a home, okay? I just had a client. She's in credit repair. She has horrible credit. She's applying for a mortgage. What? Ma'am, you are not ready. You are nowhere near ready for a mortgage. Her lender texted me. It was like, does she understand? I'm like, I don't know why she would even apply with you, because she is nowhere near ready for a mortgage. So, you really just cannot be doing things without working with the person that's helping you. Don't try to go make decisions on your own that you're just not ready for, okay? The lady doesn't even have any open primary accounts that are in good standing, okay? You need to have at least a couple secured credit cards to show payment history to the mortgage people, okay? You could probably get away with like a year, but really they want 2 years, just like they want 2 years on the job. So again, you have to be working towards the same goal. You have to understand this takes time, and it all depends on where you're currently at and what your goals are. So again, if you need help, book a call. Now, towards the end of this masterclass, I'm actually going to be going over how more in depth on how to do it yourself with the credit repair. If you want our team to help, we provide free credit repair with our coaching package. We do not offer credit repair right now. We're actually completely full, but I am still accepting people from our coaching and offering free credit repair to help them assist and get through the process. So if you are interested in that, book a call with me and I can get you started. But you need to understand and be a part of the process, because a lot of these things no one can do for you. You would be solely responsible, and you need to be able to understand what's going on, because ultimately this is your credit. You don't want to always be leaning on someone, right? Say you pay someone $1,000 for your credit and they just disappear. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You don't even know what they did. It's just a lot with this credit stuff. So you want to make sure that you are being educated, you're understanding that you're working with the right people, because I've talked to so many people and they've worked with so many different credit repair companies and credit repair people. And they're like, oh my God, like you literally have to go through like 10 people to find one good one. And it takes time. You have to understand that. Like, if it sounds too good to be true, or someone's telling you that they could just do everything that you want, a red flag. Okay, let me wave the red flag. But yes, towards the end of the video, we are going to be going over some detailed credit repair tips. And if you did not watch part 1, make sure to watch part 1 of the Credit Masterclass, because I talked about some like major credit gems on how you can use AI to help you repair your credit for free. Okay, ChatGPT is free, and you can just get the credit course right now. It's less than $100 and get all of our ebooks. I mean, you get the FCRA Learning the Law ebook. There's a whole bunch of different law verbiages that you can insert into ChatGPT, along with some of the things from, say, like our cheat sheet. You enter all that into ChatGPT, have it generate a nice little professional, consumer letter for you, and voila, you have just became your own credit repair person. Okay, it's that easy. But of course, I always tell people, if you have the time to do it yourself, do it. A lot of people just don't have the time, but you still have to be educated. And the data points that are revealed in your credit report, because somebody could easily have a 700 credit score, but guess what? They have a very weak and thin credit profile. So they're still going to get denied for everything because they don't have a strong enough credit profile. And this video will show you exactly what you need to do in order to get a very strong credit profile, so that way you can get better approvals and then leverage your personal credit over on the business side. You're going to need credit for something, whether that's now or in a year from now. Start working on your credit because things are only getting harder when it comes to credit. Banks have advanced technology, so don't mess up on things. Don't get late payments. If you get credit, you have to do the right thing by it. You have to pay it back. All of this credit, all of this funding is leveraged for you to be able to get things that you wouldn't normally be able to get without credit, but you still need to have the means to pay that monthly payment on time. So let's get into all the good stuff. Again, guys, I give you the information you need to know. It's not always what you want to hear, but guess what? If you knew better, you would do better, because if it was that easy, everyone would have good credit. And if it sounds too good to be true, guess what? It is, because there is nothing fast about credit. Sure, you could clean up your credit of negative accounts within 90 days or 6 months or even 30 days sometimes, right? That's pushing it, but you can do it. I've seen it happen before. I've done it for clients before. However, there's still the flip side of that where you need to build credit. You need to structure your credit report. And a lot of people that get credit repair, they don't understand that. They just go get credit repair, get a 700 credit score and think that they're good to go. And then when they start applying for things, they get denied. So we're going to talk about how to get funding with all of these banks, credit unions, structure your credit report, what the data points need to look like. In part 1, I really broke down what your data points need to look like. And we talked about the build, break, build method, where we're building credit, we're taking a break, we're building credit. And it's a process. You don't want to rush the process. Like my shirt says, move at your own pace, okay? Move at your own pace. Don't try to keep up with everybody else, because everyone is at a different place in their life. And if you go too fast, you're liable to crash and burn. And we don't want that. Credit is not a race. It is a marathon. So we have to take our time. All right, let's get into some real important credit building tips, because whenever people are building credit, they're always like, where should I go? Who should I go with? They just go with, as many items as they see, and that's just not the way to go about it, right? We have to really go about this strategically, especially if you're going to be applying for Chase. If Chase is one of your goal cards, then you need to be very mindful about the amount of new accounts that you're adding to your credit profile. Because again, Chase has that 524 rule, where if you've opened up more than 5 accounts in the last 24 months, they're not going to approve you. They could bypass it on the business side, but that's why I say, just take your time, do it right, go slow. Generally, the pledge loans don't count as a new account. So those are okay, right? And again, those are going to be with credit unions. I did an entire masterclass on pledge loans and how they work. So make sure to watch that video. I'll leave the link in the description. So we want to make sure, again, that we've cleaned up our personal information. I briefly touched on this in part 1 of the masterclass. We're also going to be going over a whole DIY credit repair plan at the end of this masterclass. So that way you guys can learn, take action, and get it done. Okay. And if you need help, you can always reach out, because I'm here to help. But I know a lot of people might not have the budget to pay me to do it. That's why I give you guys the information for you to do it yourselves for free. Just get a copy of your credit reports in the link in the description. Get that MyScore IQ so you know what your true FICO 8 scores are. It's just like Identity IQ, but it's the FICO 8 version of your credit reports. And start highlighting all of the errors. On your personal information, you only want one name, one address, and if they have any employers that are old, outdated, or inaccurate, get those off as well. So you just want to use that same variation every time you apply for any sort of credit products, whether that's your first name, last name, first name, middle initial, last name. Keep it the same. You have to understand that's very important, because every time you put in a new credit application, that's how this information gets onto your credit reports. So we have to stay consistent. So again, we're going to clean up our personal info as best as you can. We're going to get 4+ no credit check installment loans / credit builder products. These, for me, I'm going to say, I want you to do the secured loan. You can also do Credit Strong. You can do self. There's no inquiry for those. Again, we're staying on the installment side. Do not get their secured credit cards. Why? Because there's no future benefit. If you're going to get a secured credit card, get it with a credit union. You can also do a secured card with Capital One. You could do a secured card with Bank of America. US Bank has a secured card. You do not have to have bank accounts to get those cards. But with the credit unions, you do have to have a bank account relationship with them in order to apply for their credit products, even if it's a secured loan or a secured credit card. And that's the purpose, is to build that relationship up while we are building our credit up. So when we do apply for something that would require a hard pull from them, they're going to have our best credit score on file. If you apply too early and you pull the trigger too early, guess what? They pulled your credit 3 months ago at, a 500 or a 600. And now 3 months later, you have a 700. Something's not adding up, right? So that's why I tell people, don't apply with your credit union or your bank until you know that your credit profile is ready, because they will have that information on file and you don't want that. You want to just apply when it's ready. In the meantime, you're just dating the bank. You're getting that direct deposit. You're building that relationship with them. If you can do some sort of CD account, perfect, because that's a savings account. Again, the savings account, which is like a CD, or a secured pledge certificate, both of those products do not require a hard pull. If you're just doing a savings, like a CD account, that does not report to your credit. Okay, that's just to help get you some interest on a chunk of money that you're going to put up for like 12 months. Sometimes it's longer than that. It just depends on the term that you select, but that does not report to your credit bureaus. Okay. The certificate pledge loan, which is a secured loan, that does report to your credit reports. Okay. So it'll report to TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. You do not want to get a late payment. You always want to set up auto pay on every credit product that you get. Very, very important. Okay. So again, we're going to be getting 4 no credit installment loan products. I also have my free ebooks in the description, and this covers a lot of information as well. So make sure to visit the link in the description and get those free ebooks if you are really serious about learning about personal credit or business credit. We're also going to try to get one revolving account product, like a secure credit card. You can even do some sort of hybrid. I don't really like the hybrids, but in some cases we have to, because we're just starting out and not a lot of banks are going to approve you. And we don't want to be shopping around getting a bunch of inquiries, right? That's just not what we want to be doing. You can search for authorized users. We have a ton of authorized users that you can add to your credit profile before you're going to be applying to help boost up your credit score. Okay. Now, I always say that's just a piece of the puzzle, right? Authorized users are just like the final step. If you have negative accounts on some of the credit reports, you probably want to get those cleared up. But if you do have one report that's free and clear of any derogatories, you can add Tradelines, and you would just need to be using that bureau's report to apply for things. So obviously you're going to need to go to banks and credit unions that would say only pull Experian if Experian is your best report. And you would want to probably lock the other two so that way no one can pull those while you're still working on it. You can also search for authorized users from friends and family. I talked about this a little bit before. It can be risky, but again, the criteria, 100% on-time payments, low credit card utilization. If someone has high usage on their credit cards, don't be at it, because you're going to inherit that debt and it's just going to affect you in a negative way. If you do want to purchase authorized users because you're like, look, I don't even want to ask my family. Honestly, the best family members that I've seen from my clients are like moms and grandmothers, okay? Even fathers, but the older generation who just has credit cards that have been around forever and then just don't use them, okay? Because you get all that age and you don't have to really worry about them using their credit cards heavily because they just don't really use them like that, okay? We're looking for that age because that age is going to get a higher credit score for us. A lot of times people lack history, and adding those authorized users can add the history. I have a whole masterclass on Tradelines as well, authorized user Tradelines. So I'll leave a link below in the description. You can check that out as well. We also want to be picking 2 to 3 institutions and date that bank. Okay. Understand how to build a relationship with a bank. Yes, you can have more than one bank account. I do not recommend applying for more than 3 bank accounts at a time, because again, you can be red flagged inside of check systems like, wait, hold on, they're applying for too many bank accounts right now. And that's a bad thing. So we don't want to apply for too many banks at the same time. That's why I tell you, everyone, build, take a break, and then build again. Okay. That way you give it enough time to build up that relationship, because nothing fishy is going on. So again, pick 1 to 3 banks, preferably 2 to 3 that you can build a relationship with. You can have direct deposit set up and divided between all of your checking accounts and savings accounts. And you can start doing a secured loan with them, okay? If you have a chunk of money, tax returns are coming up. Before you spend any of your tax money, okay, do a secured loan. If you get any sort of lump sum of money, a loan of some sort, a personal loan, a home equity line of credit, if you're doing any sort of, equity on your home, cash advance, anything you're getting a large lump sum of money, do a pledge loan before you spend any of that money, because that chunk of money, you can do a secured loan with a bank. You can use that same money and recycle it with your second bank. That way you have 2 primary trade lines. And guess what? The money is still accessible to you, and you can just raise the bar in that regard. And in my pledge loan hack, I show you guys how important it is, because I show you an example. I tell you my story all the time. I did a $25,000 or $20,000 pledge loan, one of the two. It's been a long day, but either a $25,000 pledge loan. I think it was $25K. I'm pretty sure $25K pledge loan with Navy Federal, and my next credit card was $25,000. Now, I showed you in my video where I did the pledge loan hack masterclass. I literally showed you an example of someone that did a $200,000 pledge loan and then was able to get a $250,000 line of credit. They did a home equity line of credit. So that just goes to show you how you can raise the bar with your own money. And that just opens up the doors for more funding. Of course, you have to manage it properly, know what you're doing. But I'm telling you guys, it can be life-changing, because you can go buy, if you got a $250,000 home equity line of credit, you can go buy multiple properties with that and have different properties that are producing income, passive income. Okay. You could flip them. I like to, go the concept buy and hold, because the more properties you have, obviously the better, and get some recurring revenue going. It takes a while to kind of catch up. Yes, it's not as fast as flipping, but in the long run, you'll be able to leave your family with more property. Okay. And that's what it's all about, is buying money-making income assets, multiple streams of income, guys. We got it. We got to do it in this day and age. We got to have multiple streams of income. We have to be setting ourselves up for success. If you're just relying on a job, oftentimes that's just not enough, and we're barely squeaking by. We're living paycheck to paycheck, and it's just no fun. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a job. Don't get me wrong. Many of us need to have a job. Many of us need to have 2 and 3 jobs, okay? And a side hustle and other streams of income in order to just survive. I live in California, so it's really bad out here. Like, the average rent to even get into a spot is $2,500. Like, that's the average, okay? So there's a big homeless population. We don't want to be part of that community, okay? We want to be managing our credit properly, so that way we can leverage. A lot of people leave California because they can't afford it. I want to leave California because it's just so crazy out here, but I love California at the same time, okay? Shout out to those of you that are in the affordable areas to live at. I envy you guys so much. Ohio. Oh, I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and I think he lives in, it's either South Carolina or Alabama. Alabama, I think it was. something like that. I know it was like country, but he was saying they pay like $900 for like a really nice house out there. I was like sick. I was like, oh, like that's just unheard of out here, you know? So we really want to just be building up our credit as much as we possibly can and understanding really how to manage it. And that's why I talk about the build, break, build. Build, take a break, build. Okay, don't go too fast. Go at your pace. Go at your own pace. This, again, you don't need to rush nothing. You want to make sure that you're making the best decisions for yourself. Never rush into anything. Take it slow, see how it goes, test the waters, you know, and then dive in. But don't just dive in head first and start, you know, getting all these new accounts and, you know, doing every video that you watch on YouTube, you're applying for. Like, that's how you get yourself in trouble. Okay. So we're going to pick 2 to 3 institutions and date them to build a relationship. I love Navy Federal Credit Union. They are the #1 credit union. I also like DCU. I like US Bank, Community First Bank, and there is more in the free lenders list. The links is in the description. And I have included a whole tracking log that I put together that's in a Google Docs that I share inside of my course that has over 100 different credit unions, how to join these credit unions and banks, what credit bureau they pull from. And in this same class, oh my gosh, it's so much information, like so much. Okay. So you definitely want to get the credit course because it has everything that you're going to need. And this list alone, that's aside from the free lenders list. Like I have my free ebooks. I will give you some great lenders. Don't get me wrong. And I'm going to go over the top places that you should open up accounts with in the next video in part 3 of this video. So you definitely want to stick around and watch that. But in regards to the list that I put together for you guys, a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, I can't join Navy Federal. Navy Federal is not the only credit union out there. There are hundreds of credit unions out there. And I have tons of videos that talk about, you know, other banks besides Navy Federal that you can get in with. And on this list, it's over 100 different credit unions that you could potentially get in with. And it tells you what you would need to do in order to join them. Now, some you just simply might not qualify for, but a lot of these credit unions, you can join some sort of community group or, you know, make a donation and you're in. Okay. You are in. And that's why I'm saying knowledge is power. A lot of these banks we've never even heard of. We've never seen them. We don't even know who they are. This is foreign to us, right? But these are banks that are powerful banks that are literally in the top 100 banks because of their asset size. So they got the money to give. They just want to make sure that they're giving to their members because at credit unions, that's who they serve, their members. Okay. So make sure to get the credit course, purchase it right now. It's literally less than $100 and it has so much information. Normally it's over 1,000. So by the time you're watching this video, hopefully it is still on sale so you could take advantage of it and start learning, guys. And if you have questions or if you need additional help, you can always book a coaching call using the link below. I also have my coaching package that includes all of the different courses that I offer, the credit course, the business credit course, and the Turo course. So if you buy a coaching package, right now I've got some crazy deals going on with the coaching package. The coaching package is nowhere near what most of these gurus are charging. Like most of these gurus are charging $5,000, $10,000 for their coaching packages. I'm nowhere near that, guys. And I'm going to give you 10x the value that they are. Okay. Not to mention, if you join our coaching program, you're going to get free credit repair. You're going to get the credit course. You're going to get the business credit course. You're going to get the Turo course. So you can start to learn how to leverage your credit. And you're also going to get one-on-one coaching sessions with myself. And soon as I start my mentorship, you will have lifetime access to the mentorship. So it doesn't get better than that, guys. It does not. So let's talk about some rental primary trade lines that you can add. And again, primary trade lines are accounts that report to your credit like you are the owner of that account. Authorized user trade lines belong to other people and they add you as an authorized user. You can only get authorized user Tradelines by being added to a credit card owned by somebody else. There's no such thing as an authorized user for the business side. It does not report like that on the business side. You can add authorized users, but chances are it's really not going to provide the person any benefit because it probably won't report to their personal credit. If it does, great, it will help, but most business cards don't report to personal credit, so there's absolutely no benefit for an authorized user being added. I had someone actually reach out and ask that, so I just wanted to clear that up. But I can't talk today. It's been a long day. You also are not able to add an authorized user to any sort of installment loan. There is such thing as like a cosigner, and you can even cosign a secured loan for someone. That's another thing that I talk about in the Pledge Loan Hack. So it's like so much information that I'm giving you guys. You got to take action, okay? So if mom, grandma, family, they've got a lump sum of money just sitting in the bank, do a pledge loan. It'll help both of your credit. Chances are they probably don't need the help with their credit because a lot of people who understand it or that have, been around for a while, they already have an 800 credit score. Why? Because they pay their bills on time and they don't really use their credit scores. But that doesn't always mean that they're going to get approved for anything. I had a client, they had an 800 credit score. Even still, I'm going to tell you about the story about my grandmother, my own grandmother, okay? My grandmother always paid her bills on time. She was like, 80 years old. She had an 800 credit score, like an 820 something. It was perfect, immaculate credit. Why? Because she paid all of her bills on time and she had a really long history with her credit card and she never had a high usage because whatever she spent, she paid in full. Moral of the story is she always paid for her auto loans in cash. So when I was younger, I asked her to co-sign on a car for me because the car was really expensive. And I didn't qualify on my own at that time because, of course, I was uneducated about credit. So guess what? She would not qualify either. Why? Because she didn't have comparable credit. Even though she had an 800 credit score, and you're thinking, man, someone with an 800 credit score can get whatever they want in this world. Wrong. Nope. Denied. My grandmother had an 820 something credit score, okay? This lady was denied for an auto loan because she never had an auto loan. She always paid cash for all of her vehicles. So there was no installment history on her credit report, okay? Which is not necessarily a good thing. That's why I say you can have a 700 or even an 800 credit score. It doesn't mean that you're going to get approved for everything because you need to have comparable credit. Even if my grandmother had one auto loan that showed that she, bought it and then paid it off, that would help. So if you are planning to buy a vehicle with cash, I recommend that you still finance it, okay? Finance it, let the trade line report to your credit, and then pay it off within a couple months. So that way you can get that trade line reported to your credit report so you can have comparable credit and the banks have something to go off of. A lot of banks don't even want to be the first one to give you an auto loan, or they don't want to be the first one to give you a high limit auto loan. So if you want to get a $150,000 auto loan, but you haven't even showed a $20,000 auto loan, that's probably not going to happen. So that's why I say credit is a process. You have to grow it over time, and it does take time. So that's why it's so important to understand how to build credit so that way you can get the credit products that you want and you can start adding comparable credit. So no matter what you want, whether it's a credit card, auto loan, home loan, whatever the case may be, you can work towards that because every credit product is a little bit different and requires a little adjustments in each area. So it really just depends on your goals. Okay. But as far as the rental primaries, I highly recommend BoomPay. If you are interested in adding your rental payments to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, BoomPay is the only app that is going to report to all credit bureaus, and it's super affordable. I think it's like $2 a month or something like that, and then you can pay like an additional $25 to have the last 2 years reported. All that you have to do is just upload a copy of your rental agreement. Unfortunately, if you pay with like check, or actually, no, I'm sorry. If you pay with like a money order, it wouldn't work because they have to have some way to show that you paid it. So it has to be like Zelle, even if it came out of your bank account. You can do like any sort of app, okay, that can track it. Perfect. But if you pay cash or money order, there's really no way to track that, unfortunately. So that's why it's so important. If you are paying your rent with a money order, start paying it through your bank account so you can start earning credit for something that you're already paying for on a monthly basis. Okay. We got to figure a way to get your rent into a bank account and then get it paid through either a rental portal, Zelle. You can do whatever app that they accept. Okay. It is so important because why not? You're getting, this shows credit. If you want to buy a house in the future and you've shown 2 years worth of on-time payments, paying rent, that just shows that you're a more credible candidate. So get BoomPay. I will leave a link in the description. We are affiliated with BoomPay. So if you are going to sign up for BoomPay, please use our app. It's at no additional fee to you and it helps support our channel. You can also use Rent Reporters. I will leave a link below for Rent Reporters as well. Same concept. They report to TransUnion and to Equifax. They will reach out to the landlord and they will verify everything. With BoomPay, they don't have to reach out to anybody. You do all the work. You upload your agreement, and as long as they can track the payment history somehow, some way in your bank account or in some sort of app, you're good to go. Okay. So both of those are good options and you can actually double dip. So you can get both as a primary trade line if you're paying rent every month and it's trackable. The good thing about Rent Reporters is they do accept cash payments because they're just going to be asking the landlord if you paid your rent on time. So anyone can pretty much get into Rent Reporters as long as they have a landlord that will say, yes, they rent from me. It can even be your parents and you rent a room from them for $500 a month. Get it, like do it. And they add the last 24 months of history. So anything that you can get additional history with, that's a primary trade line, I'm all for. And this is the only way that you can get a backdated primary trade line with 24 months of payment history. Okay, so these are 2 primary trade lines that you can get with a 24-month payment history as long as you've been paying rent for the last 24 months. And let's just be honest, if you have family that owns a home, hello, Rent Reporters, you better take advantage, okay? So during our break period, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to let everything do what it does. Report those on-time payments, get that good payment history, get those good reports to our adult report card, as we may call it, right? So we're just going to treat those accounts and let it roll on auto pay for anywhere from 6 to 12 months. Don't abuse your credit cards. Again, use them like a debit card. Don't overspend. If it does have a welcome bonus, leverage it. Don't use more than a couple cards at a time. Okay. Recycle them. Okay. If you're going to use credit cards one month, just use one credit card for that month. Spend, pay, spend, pay, spend, pay. And then the next month you can use a different card. Spend, pay, spend, pay, spend, pay. Okay. You get the drift. We're going to be testing the waters for personal products. Now, if it's too soon to get new credit, but you were like, look, I need another trade line. Like I don't have enough trade lines. I really need to, add just a couple more trade lines to my credit profile so I can help strengthen it. You can totally apply for some of these fintech plaid-based credit cards that aren't necessarily going to be a credit pull. Some of them are, some of them are not. It just depends. But there is, and they're unsecured, so they're just going to give you a credit limit, and often they grow over time as well. So that's a good thing. And Tomo and Pedal, there's Pedal 1 and there's Pedal 2. I have links for both of those, and I left them below in the description. And they're also in my free ebook that gives you a bunch of banks that you can start building up some credit with. But Tomo is great, and Tomo and Pedal are both great fintech companies. that don't base off credit. Really, it's just based off your banking. So that's why they use Plaid to connect to your bank account, and they check out your deposits, and then they'll give you a credit limit that you can ultimately grow over time by just, buying and spending and paying. Buy, spend, pay, pay. Okay. Spend, pay. Same concept. But we really don't want to be applying for anything that's going to cost us a hard inquiry during this time. So if you absolutely needed to do like another primary trade line, you could also open up the secured pledge loan, because that's not going to cost you a hard pull, but that's going to help, increase that primary trade line. And of course, we're getting those with some grade A banks, right? Credit unions, you can't get much better than that. You can also get some loans if you needed to get like a personal loan. I don't ever recommend people getting loans like normally, right? Loans can be tricky because the interest rate on them is very high if you don't have any collateral, meaning a personal loan is an unsecured loan. So generally the interest rate is going to be really high. So I like to kind of use personal loans as just trade lines, really just decoration for the credit, not because I need the money or not because my client needs the money for something, but we get a loan, right? And then we can use what we got to apply for 2 pledge loans, right? So now we have 3 installment loans total, and we're going to be basically just recycling that money and just focus on the payments back to the financial institution. So essentially you can pay it all back in a 6-month period if you wanted to, but ultimately, we want to pay the personal loan back pretty quickly within like a 3-month period, so you're not paying any interest on it. And then the 2 secured loans, we can actually just pay those back gradually. Okay. So that's something that you can definitely consider. And again, you have to make sure that you can keep up with the payments, because sometimes people get all these credit products and then like, oh, I can't keep up. That's why I say go slow. Like only get 3, maybe 4 credit products in a 6 to 12 month period. Don't overdo it. Don't overextend yourself. Okay. If you have messed up with some of these financial institutions in the past, Chase, American Express, Navy Federal, and you want to get back in their good grace, you need to work on paying off the debt to them. I've helped a lot of people, settle debts with financial institutions as well, because, hey, it's their debt. They know they owe the money. And at this point, part of the repair process is sometimes paying and settling some of your old debts, okay? Especially if you know that it belongs to you. If you are going to get back in with Chase or, any of these other financial institutions, you would need to make right with them. And oftentimes, if you settle, you can settle for 50 cents on the dollar, sometimes less, and owe them a 0 balance and, potentially get back on their good side. It might take some finessing and some time, but time always heals all wounds, right? As long as you make right with them and they can see that you're trying to do the right thing. So again, this break period, not much going on. It's really just meant for us to show our payment history to the financial institutions that we've acquired. Once you've taken that break for 6 to 12 months, now we're back to building again. And now we can kind of go up to that next tier. If you wanted to add a authorized user trade line or 2 before you apply, that's what I would recommend at the first build phase and also at the second build phase. Every phase before you apply for funding, I would always recommend adding a couple authorized user trade lines just to help boost that, score, boost up the history, and to boost up some higher limits added to your credit profile. So if you can get a couple 20K, 30K credit cards added before you're applying, that's going to help you get approved for higher limits versus, again, if you only had a $500 credit card on your credit profile, comparable credit, you have to show you have some comparable credit. If you just have a bunch of $500 credit cards and you go and apply for a credit card with a new bank, chances are they're going to mirror your average credit limit that you've been approved for with other banks. But oftentimes it's a computer system, so they don't always recognize what's authorized user and what's not. the computer system just looks, okay? And if you add some higher limits, guess what? They might give you somewhere in the middle, but it just helps raise the bar so you can get higher limits. Because we don't want the itty bitty credit card committee. You can have that. We want the big dogs, okay? We want the big energy credit cards. Okay? That's what we want. So go ahead and test the waters. You can pre-qualify for a lot of these credit cards right on the website. So you can go to, say, for example, Apple. And I love the Apple card. You can pre-qualify to see if you are pre-qualified. Goldman Sachs underwrites the Apple card. They also underwrite the GM Financial card, which is, I believe, a MasterCard. But I have both of them, and they both gave me some decent limits. So I was pretty impressed with that. Between the Apple card and the GM Financial card, I was able to add $18,000 of available credit to my credit profile. So the Apple card and the GM, those are two great cards, both underwritten by Goldman Sachs. There's also the X1 card. And if you know anything about that card, you can actually pay your rent with that card. So that way, again, if you're paying rent with a credit card, you can track it and you can use Boom Pay. They don't even have to reach out to the landlord. It doesn't get better than this, guys. So we want to leverage all of the tools that are available to us to make something out of nothing. Okay. Sometimes we don't have a lot of money to invest in our credit, but you can use some of these tools. If you already have to pay rent, make sure your rent is being tracked in your bank account or on a credit card, and double dip. Earn credit by paying your rent if you can pay your rent with a credit card. That way you can add it to Boom, and you're also building credit with your credit card because you're just going to pay it, right? You're just going to pay it. So pay everything you can with a credit card and just have that debit card mentality. Like, oh, this is just a debit card, but it's got an extra layer of security. That's how we want to look at credit cards. We don't want to look at them like, oh, this is $10,000. I've got $10,000 I can spend. No. That's not, because you still have to pay all of that back. Okay. Be responsible with credit. Go at your own pace. Again, everyone moves at their own pace. And if you knew better, you would do better, my friends. And that's what I'm trying to help you out with, so you can do better. No matter how young you are, how old you are, you're always going to be learning new things along with life. And it's never too late. It's never too early. Okay. You got to be ready. Okay. Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. A lot of people don't understand that concept. I'm from the Bay Area. We do things a little different. So if you're with me, give me a thumbs up. You also want to focus on secured credit cards that actually graduate to unsecured credit cards. And I'm going to be giving you some places a little bit later on in this masterclass. Discover It. That's one of my favorites. You can also do US Bank. You do not have to have a bank account with either one. Discover, US Bank, Capital One. But Discover It is by far my favorite secured card because it graduates after about 7 months. You get your deposit back, and then they will raise your limit, and then you can continue to just ask for credit line increases. There are a ton more, but we're not going to get into all of that right now. But the bottom line is, we want secured credit cards with real banks and credit unions that will graduate to unsecured, where we get our deposit back. And then guess what? We can grow our relationship and then apply for additional credit products with that same bank. If we get secured cards with, say, Sky One, First Progress, a lot of these other, not so great places, sometimes it's necessary, don't get me wrong. But, if we do, we're stuck with them. It's pretty much like, we're darned if we do, we're darned if I don't. Like, the only time we're going to get our money back is if we cancel the card. And once we have credit lines open, credit accounts, especially credit cards, we do not want to close them. Okay. Do not close a credit card because you don't use it. Put it in a drawer, have self-control, and don't use it. Because what this is going to do is just continue to help you build credit. Even though you have a zero balance, it will still report an on-time payment to your credit report. I helped a young lady before, and it was amazing because she was like, well, I don't know. I don't have any credit, I don't know nothing about credit basically. So I looked at her report and she had a Wells Fargo credit card. And I was like, oh my God, you have this Wells Fargo card. It's been open for years. And she's like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. Like I lost the card and I just forgot about it. And I had no idea. So this card had been lost forever. She never closed the account, but she didn't have a balance. So it just kept on reporting an on-time payment. Her credit score was in the 700s because she had that one credit card that she didn't know about, and it was just helping her build credit, even though she was not using it. So you can still keep these accounts open, let them continue to help you build credit. In fact, I don't even recommend people use secured credit cards unless it's with a bank that will graduate you to unsecured and you get your deposit back. A lot of those low-end secured credit cards that sometimes we need to get, there's no future benefit, okay? Like I said, they're always going to have your money unless you cancel. And it's kind of like you're darned if you do use it because it's only, a $200 limit. So your credit utilization goes haywire, right? And you have to pay that annual fee that a lot of these cards have. So just be mindful of that, guys. And also understand that you do not want to close credit accounts once you have them open, okay? Just don't use them. You can cut the card up, get it to a zero balance, cut the card up, out of here, and just let it, let it do its thing, okay? Sometimes cards do cancel due to inactivity. A lot of those cards are like Care Credit, store cards, Macy's, things like that. That's why if you do have those cards, use them like once a year or something like that. And, just pay it back. Buy something small, pay it back. You can do that once a year, once every 18 months, something, that's not going to be too tempting. Okay. But don't get mad and just close all of your credit cards down. That is counterproductive. We need all of those open because they provide us with history and we need those on-time payments. The more on-time payments that you have reported to your credit reports every month is a better report. Okay. It's stronger. It's better. So please make sure that you, again, are listening to all of the information in this masterclass because I have tried to put everything I possibly can into it so that way I don't forget to tell you guys anything. So next is the credit clarifications. Let's talk about that. And I've talked about this. I've touched on this a little bit in the past, but I just want to reiterate. We do not want to focus on the credit score. Okay. A lot of times people tell me, well, every time I look at a credit monitoring app, it's a different score anyways. Well, yeah, because generally it's from a different credit bureau. It's calculated using a different scoring model. So there's the Vantage scoring model. There's 3.0 and 4.0. There's the FICO 8, there's the FICO 9, there's, different FICO variations. And, there's different dates that data is as of. So you want to just be mindful that it's not always about the credit score. And that's the exact reason why banks do not have any set credit score that they will approve and or deny because it's all about the data points. And again, someone can have a 700 or 800 credit score and still get denied. So you have to understand the data points and how to build a very strong credit profile over time. It takes time. So again, don't focus on the credit score. What you need to be focusing on are building relationships with the banks, okay? And again, you want to build 2 to 3 banking relationships at a time. Don't apply for too many bank accounts at a time. I would say 3 max, but you can do the same thing every year. Open up 3 more bank accounts or every 6 months. I recommend really like a year with the banks because you don't want to go too quickly. And a lot of people can't manage multiple accounts at the same time. It's just too hard for them. You can always put it in a tracking log. Make sure you're very organized with this stuff because when it comes to credit, you really have to be organized, okay? Or you have to set it up on autopay. But you definitely want to get those relationships built with the banks and the credit unions that can help you in the future because a lot of these banks, they are the ones that can provide you with the funding that you need. there are a ton of banks out there. There are over 200 banks that I went over in one of my recent videos where we're talking about the top banks to get a bag from. And I went over the top 100 banks and then the top 100 credit unions. So there are hundreds and hundreds of banks out there, credit unions, community banks, community credit unions, which are my favorite, but you want to find the credit unions that are going to serve your purpose. So if you are a veteran, shout out to you, then you want to make sure that you are building relationships that specialize in helping veterans, or they have special programs for veterans like Navy Federal, USAA, and I'm sure there's a ton more that I'm missing, but you get the drift. And if you are maybe someone that is a special heritage, you can definitely get with banks that specialize in different programs based on certain categories. So you can do your research and figure out what banks are going to be best fit for your goals. Navy Federal is the #1 credit union, but if you're not able to join them, I give you guys a ton of different options that you can use. It may take time to build relationships with these financial institutions, but that does not stop us from building out our credit profile. What we are doing is grooming and dating multiple banks at the same time, so eventually we can apply for their credit products. Right now, I think I probably have at least 10 bank accounts that are open. And honestly, I don't even have credit products with all of those banks because guess what? I don't need to. I have credit products, and right now I'm kind of in that break phase, and I'm taking a break for about a year because I'm good. I don't need any more credit. The next credit that I get is all going to be business credit cards, business, because my personal foundation is set. So when it's set, you can just sometimes just let it grow. Okay, let it grow. You want to arm yourself with the knowledge so that you can never put yourself in that same position of having a low credit score and a, weak credit profile again. That's why it's so important for you to learn before you earn. Okay, because clarity brings confidence. I cannot tell you the amount of people that DM me and, ask me questions that are, so-called credit experts themselves. And I'm like, dude, you should totally know this information. Like, obviously you did not take the time to learn before you start taking people's money. I highly recommend get a coach, get a mentor. Okay. I have coaching. I offer mentoring. If you don't like me, that's fine. Get with somebody else. Get into some mentorship programs because you need to learn before you start taking people's money and earning. Okay. It's not fair. And if you are going to take someone's money and you're not confident, give them a good deal. Okay. We don't want you to work for free, but again, you have to be fair and you have to learn. And sometimes that takes practice, and there's nothing that can speed that up because it just takes time. Let's talk about the ideal criteria that requires for you to rebuild your credit profile. We want to have between 5 to 10 positive accounts. Now, I say 5 to 10 to start off with, right? But ultimately, in order for you to optimize your personal credit profile, you really want to have between 10 and 20 positive accounts reporting on your credit. Okay, 10 is perfectly fine, but you really want to show that you're a strong candidate. Okay, not all of those accounts need to be open. Some of those might be old secured loans that you've already paid off. But again, don't feel like you need to pay that secured loan off too quickly because you want to have open accounts where you're getting that on-time payment every month to help optimize your credit score. Okay. You really want to be able to wash out the negative accounts with positive accounts. Okay. So eventually you have more positive than negative. The problem that most people have, they have more negative accounts than they do positive accounts. And their goal is, hey, I need to fix my credit, but I can't get approved for anything. Okay. Well, here is your answer, okay? The secured loans don't require a credit score, so that's no excuse. We have to do better, okay? We have to learn this information so that way we can start getting some credit products, building our credit while we are repairing our credit and working on getting those negative items either deleted or cleared up, meaning settling them, okay? Now, you need to have a good credit mix. Basically, what that is a variety of credit accounts, installment loans, credit cards, revolving accounts. Okay. So you need to have a nice mixture of both. So that way you can show lenders and financial institutions, hey, I know how to manage my stuff. Obviously, I have both types of credit products. I have installment loans, I have revolving accounts, and I've showed to manage both of those perfectly. Okay. You need to have at least 2 to 4 revolving accounts. Those are credit cards because the balances revolve based on your spending habits, and 2 to 4 installment accounts. Those are like auto loans, personal loans, student loans, things of that nature. That's when you're first starting off. And then of course, build on that. But 2 to 4 to start off with is perfectly fine. Okay. Don't overextend yourself. Inquiries, you want to keep that as low as possible. And again, these are a lot of the data points that a lot of people don't break down, so you really don't understand what it is that you need to be doing. Old inquiries that are like 0 to 12 months, they could be disputed if they are not attached to an open account or it was a result of a denial. Because once an inquiry has been on your credit report for over like 12 months, it really it's not going to hold any value. Like if you get it deleted, it's not really going to make your credit score go up anymore. But, we just don't want to have those inquiries that hold no value just lingering around, hanging out. Okay. We don't have room for all that. Okay. So if you do have some inquiries that are within the last year that were a result of denied credit, go ahead and dispute those to get them off. Utilization for the credit cards needs to be anywhere between 1 and 10%. If you have 0%, that's fine. Okay. Don't feel like you have to use your cards. Okay. You don't have to use them. But of course, if you use your credit cards strategically, there's a lot of benefit that comes along with it, not to mention the security that credit cards offer as well. So there's a lot of perks that credit cards offer. They offer cash back. So right now I've made hundreds of dollars spending on credit cards because of my rewards. And that's money that I would have already spent and not got any reward had it just been from my debit card. So I literally put all of my spend on my credit cards, pay it back with my debit card. That way I have the security, and I'm also earning cash back on gas, groceries, everything that I do pretty much. So that's why I say get the cards that are going to be best fit for your lifestyle. If you like to travel, there's a lot of travel cards out there that have a great rewards program and have welcome bonuses and different perks that you would get as a traveler. Now, make sure if you do hold a balance on any of your credit cards that you don't have a balance on more than a couple cards at a time. If you have a balance on all of your credit cards, you're like, oh, well, I'm keeping my credit utilization between 1 and 10% on all of my credit cards. No. You don't need to have a balance on all of your cards, especially if you're going to be applying for anything, okay? That shows risk. There's no reason why you should have balances on every single one of your credit cards unless, you absolutely have to use them. Don't feel like you have to use every credit card every single month. You certainly do not. In fact, if you have a 0 balance, again, you're still going to get that on-time report of an on-time payment to your credit. So you do not need to use all of your credit cards. In fact, it's better to have a 0 balance with most of your credit cards. And if you are going to let a couple balances report, it should only be on maybe 1 or 2 credit cards. And again, below 10% of the available credit limit. For simple math, if you have $1,000 credit card, no more than $100, because $100 is 10% of $1,000. Okay. You also, very, very, very important. If you don't listen to anything else in this video, make sure to listen to this. You want to make sure to make all of your payments on time. This is super, super important. It's so simple, but it's not so simple, right? Everyone needs to understand the impact that even one F-up, one late payment can have on your credit report. I am telling you from experience, and I see this happen, and it just hurts my heart when my clients get a late payment. And I have worked so hard to get them to a 700 credit score, and they F around and get a late payment. Late payments can drop your credit score up to 100 points, okay? They are the most detrimental thing that can happen. Please, please, please do not get any late payments reported to your credit. They will affect you for up to a 7-year period. They are the hardest thing to get corrected or removed. So to avoid all of that, do not get a late payment. Not to mention the banks don't like it either. It's not good for your relationship with the banks. They do not look to that as if, oh my God, they look at that really bad. Okay. So late payments are the worst thing that you could possibly have on your credit report. You need to make sure you are managing your finances properly and paying your credit accounts that report to the credit bureaus on time. Super important. Set that auto pay up and then make additional payments with your credit cards. That's how you do it. Okay. Car payments, installment loans, set it on auto pay. Make sure the money is there. Make sure the auto pay process, make sure it went through. Put all of the dates in your calendar. Okay. Be organized. Put your budget together. Okay. Put a spreadsheet together of when all of your bills are due. So that way you know what to expect and how to budget properly. And if you do need to move around some due dates, call the bank and ask them if they can move the date based on your pay schedule. You can let them know, hey, I need to move this date to better align with my pay schedule. And they will be more than willing to help you as long as you haven't had any mess ups with them. Last but not least are those on-time payments. Even one late payment can cost you up to 100 points. So if you don't remember anything from this video, remember this. Get your auto pay set up, okay? Auto pay is going to be your best friend. You want to avoid late payments. We cannot afford to get any late payments. They are the hardest thing to get corrected, if not impossible, okay? Coming from someone that repairs credit, do not listen to the hype, the BS, or the nonsense. If it was that easy, or if it was illegal for late payments to be reported to your credit report, then no one would have them. So again, don't be fooled by the fool's gold, okay? If it sounds too good to be true, guess what? It probably is. I know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but again, red flag, red flag. Let's get our red flags out, okay, guys? So anyways, we're going to wrap up part 2 of the Credit Masterclass. Thank you so much for joining. I know this was a long one, but again, guys, if you knew better, you would do better. And that's why I do these videos, so that way you can get to the next level and I can help you reach your goals. So that way you can expand your knowledge and learn before you earn, my friends. So if you are interested in learning more about starting a credit repair business, or if you want to connect more, please visit all of the links in the description. There is a link in there to join everything that we have talked about in this masterclass so far. If you haven't by now, make sure that you have subscribed to my channel, Credit Coach Nicole Scott. You can also give me a follow on Instagram and TikTok. I'm over there as well. But give me some love. Give me a huge thumbs up. Share this information with your friends, family, and colleagues. And again, guys, make sure to take action. It doesn't do any good for you to spend all the time learning and you're not taking action. So like Nike, just do it, baby, and watch the playlist coming up next. Let's go.